Gautami Londe, please mention your roll number. Am I audible? Gautami Londe, please mention your roll number. Sheetal Nimse, same instruction goes to you. Rashmi Hande, mention your roll number. Rahul Kharade, mention your roll number, please. Vaibhavi Lad, please mention your roll number. So, what we started yesterday and finished, it's thiamine. Let's have quick review on thiamine. Thiamine, it is anti-beriberi vitamin. The most important sources for thiamine, the keywords that you should know, it includes whole grain cereals. And as far as Indian diet and supply of thiamine is concerned, you should not forget rice. In relation to rice, we must take into consideration the local customs or the cultural practices that are concerned with the processing or cooking of rice plus other food articles. Why this is essential? Because now we know that whenever rice is highly polished, there is loss of thiamine. Even during washing of rice, there is loss of thiamine. And whenever extra water is added during the process of cooking and this extra water is thrown out, even it can cause loss of thiamine. So there are several things that are related with thiamine losses. As far as functions is concerned, it's thiamine pyrophosphate which plays important role in carbohydrate metabolism. Deficiency of thiamine, it is dry beriberi, it is wet beriberi and it is infantile beriberi. Regarding dry beriberi, you should remember nervous system. Basically, there is degeneration of myelinated neurons and as a result, there can be some sensory manifestations initially. Later on, there can be motor involvement and still in late conditions, even it can result in wrist drop or foot drop. And clinical aspect, you should not forget testing for knee jerks or testing for ankle jerk. As far as wet beriberi is concerned, all the manifestations are related with cardiovascular system where there is pitting edema, there can be oliguria or there can be breathlessness. Regarding infantile beriberi, it is most commonly seen in infants, specifically those infants which are breastfed by thiamine deficient mother, and the most vulnerable age group is 2 months to 4 months. So 2 to 4 months babies, they are likely to develop. Hey, who is this? Okay, they are likely to develop infantile beriberi. Another deficiency, another keyword that you must know, it is Wernicke's encephalopathy. The most important manifestation related with the ophthalmoplegia, ataxia and some mental changes. For prevention, again two important words that must be part of your answer is use of parboiled rice, or there is spelling mistake in this slide. It's parboiled rice and unpolished rice. Okay. In addition, we should have to pay attention to alcoholics as far as Wernicke's encephalopathy is concerned. Even we talked about riboflavin. So here you should know the suffix flavin, because from this suffix you can come to know three important sources. As far as lactoflavin is concerned, it is milk. Ovoflavin is concerned, these are eggs. And hepatoflavin, it is liver. Another important feature of riboflavin, it is photosensitive vitamin. So on exposure to light, there may occur loss of riboflavin. Regarding sources of riboflavin, the most important thing you should know, three names as we said first, these are milk, eggs and liver. In addition, other animal sources and leafy vegetables you can mention. Regarding function, this is FMN, that is flavin mononucleotide, and flavin adenine dinucleotide, okay, which are playing important role in protein and carbohydrate metabolism. Regarding deficiency that is related with riboflavin, these deficiencies are important. There is angular stomatitis, there is cheilosis, glossitis, and another manifestation which is related with the eyes is corneal vascularization. One more thing you should know, whenever there is a deficiency of riboflavin, this deficiency is generally associated with deficiency of vitamin B6, that is pyridoxine. We'll have your question answers at the end. Will it be okay for you? Almas, will it be okay? Huh? Huh? Okay. So this what number is yes. Okay. 12.3. Is it 1xTJ? Just ask her and let me know. If it is her number, then I will admit her. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So regarding association of the deficiencies, you should know riboflavin deficiency is generally associated with pyridoxine deficiency. And this is because whenever there is deficiency of riboflavin, this impairs utilization of pyridoxine, resulting in deficiency of pyridoxine. Before going to niacin, let's have one important thing, that is we talked yesterday about the parenteral administration of thiamine as far as revision is concerned. Okay, so just make one basic thing very clear. There are various pharmaceutical preparations that are available. Just one sec. There are different pharmaceutical preparations that are available, and these pharmaceutical preparations that we can give either orally or we can give by another route, that is, if there is overwriting, please let me know. This is parenteral route, okay, parenteral. As far as oral administration is concerned, already we have talked about administration of vitamin A, which is even part of our national health program, right? As far as parenteral administration is concerned, PAR is beyond and enteral is beyond enteron. So there are different routes that can be used for administration of different pharmaceutical preparations, where the preparations related with the vitamins are also available, and even some mineral preparations, they are also available, which are given by parenteral route, that is injectable route. Here different routes are there as far as parenteral is concerned, but these preparations, they are mainly given by injectable route. And again, what we discussed, toxicity in relation to B group vitamin, it is mainly concerned with the parenteral administration of these vitamins. Okay, so now let's proceed further and see new vitamin, niacin. Okay, now here you can see 4 different names. You may call it as niacin, or basically niacin, it is the generic term, and this niacin, it further includes 2 terminologies. Okay, it is niacinamide and it is nicotinic acid. Okay, so you may call this 2 terminologies or the one generic name niacin. It includes, let me clear myself, it includes nicotinic acid and it includes nicotinamide. So this is the second and the fourth. Okay, there are 2 things that are included under niacin. Another alternative name we can use is niacinamide. Now at least one name you are supposed to know, and that is niacin. Regarding description of this vitamin in very short, just remember niacin, it is pellagra preventing vitamin. It is pellagra preventing vitamin. So you should not forget pellagra in relation to niacin. Let's see what are various sources of niacin. As far as sources are concerned, the first and foremost thing that we are supposed to know, again, this is one of the example which differs from other vitamins as far as its synthesis is concerned. So this is the vitamin that can be synthesized in our body, but for synthesis of niacin, there is a precursor, and this precursor, it is amino acid. Name of this amino acid is tryptophan. Okay, this is tryptophan. Tryptophan is amino acid, and this tryptophan, it gets converted to niacin. Okay, so one of the source for formation of niacin in our body, it can be formed from amino acid. Name of amino acid is tryptophan, and this tryptophan gets converted into niacin. Okay, now there is one more factor which can favor this conversion, and this is vitamin B6. This is vitamin B6, that is pyridoxine. So presence of pyridoxine, it can favor this conversion. Okay, so don't forget this name of amino acid tryptophan, which is precursor, and this tryptophan gets converted into niacin, and it is about 60 milligram. This is about 60 milligram of tryptophan, which can form 1 milligram of niacin. Okay, so the proportion that you can see, 60 milligram, if 60 milligram tryptophan is present, this may get converted to 1 milligram. So this is one of the important thing as far as niacin and formation of niacin in our body is concerned. As far as dietary sources are concerned, the rich sources, here it includes mainly organ meat like liver and kidney. So liver, kidney, in addition to that, it's meat, which is a rich source. Okay, now let's talk about milk. As far as milk and niacin is concerned, milk it is basically poor source of niacin. Okay, but at the same time, milk, it contains good amount of tryptophan. So if milk is consumed, this tryptophan may get converted to niacin. Okay, so in that way, even we can include milk, because milk proteins, they are rich in tryptophan. Is it clear with the milk? From plant sources, the most important sources, it includes pulses and legumes. Now I hope you can recall pulses and legumes. So these are all Bengal gram, green gram, soybean, etc. Okay. So these all are important sources, and in addition, since yesterday we are talking about nuts, so nuts, they are also good source of niacin. So regarding niacin, again, just as far as sources is concerned, one important keyword that you are supposed to know, that is tryptophan. And as far as milk as source is concerned, it is rich in tryptophan. Similarly, if you talk about eggs and cheese, they also contain tryptophan, which may get converted into niacin. What are various functions of niacin? As far as functions is concerned, again, you should know about two coenzymes, NAD and NADP. NAD is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, and NADP is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate. Okay, so first N is for nicotinamide. No need to memorize all these full forms. Just what you should know is NAD and NADP. They are essential for all enzymes, that is proteins, fats, as well as carbohydrates. Okay, this is one of the function of niacin, which is related with the metabolism. Another most important function of niacin, it is required for normal functioning. It is required for normal functioning of digestive system, as well as it is required for normal functioning of nervous system, and it is required for normal functioning of skin. Okay, so it's digestive, it's nervous, and it's skin. Now once you know this aspect, you can understand the next part, which is related with niacin. Now let's talk about the deficiency of niacin, which is the most important part. Right now what we said, niacin, it is mainly required for normal functioning of digestive system. It is required for normal functioning of nervous system, and it is required for normal functioning of skin. Okay, so just the deficiency of niacin that you are supposed to mention as pellagra. Okay, and if you want to see meaning of pellagra, it is rough skin. Mainly it means rough skin. Before proceeding to manifestation, let's see prevalence, where we can find pellagra as prevalent condition. So it is mainly seen in Western Asia, and it is mainly seen in Southern Africa. So Asia and Africa, simply we can say, still we can get the cases of pellagra in Asia and Africa. Another important thing that we are supposed to know, in which population we can get prevalence of pellagra. So as far as population is concerned and pellagra prevalence is concerned, basically all those people who eat or their main food is maize. Okay, M-A-I-Z-E, it's maize, maca, right? Now those people whose main food is maize, these populations may suffer from pellagra. Why this happens, that we'll see in prevention. But right now just remember, as far as prevalence of pellagra is concerned, It's Asia and Africa where we can find prevalence, and prevalence we can detect in maize eating population. Now let's see what are the various manifestations. So I think all of you know these 3 Ds that are concerned with. We are talking about 3 Ds which are concerned with niacin deficiency pellagra, right? There is diarrhea, there is dermatitis, and there is dementia. Okay. In addition, you may get other manifestations, that is glossitis and stomatitis. So don't forget to mention these manifestations also. Okay, where oral cavity is affected, glossitis and stomatitis. Now let's see what happens in these conditions. Okay, as far as diarrhea is concerned, diarrhea basically it occurs due to the inflammation of mucosa of GI tract, and this may be further associated with other manifestations, like in addition to diarrhea, patient may have nausea, patient may have dyspepsia, anorexia. Okay, these are the associated manifestations that you can see in diarrhea. Now, as far as dermatitis is concerned, this is the most important manifestation that we can get in pellagra. Whatever manifestations of pellagra as far as skin is concerned, just in one word we are saying it is dermatitis. But the characteristic feature of this dermatitis is the lesions or whatever manifestations we get, they are bilaterally symmetrical. Okay, these are bilaterally symmetrical. What you can find is symmetry. Symmetry is common thing. Another important thing that is related with dermatitis, these lesions, they are mainly found on those parts which are exposed to sunlight. Okay, so the parts which are exposed to sunlight are mainly affected. So in majority of cases, we can find lesion on face or on neck, or we can find it on hands, feet or ankles. So these are the basically site where you can examine dermatitis as far as pellagra is concerned. Okay, so 2 important thing. Is it clear in relation to dermatitis? We said the lesions are bilaterally symmetrical, and secondly, you are supposed to observe the sites which are likely to get exposed to sunlight. Now, as far as these lesions or clinical manifestations is concerned, there can be itching or there can be burning. These can be the initial manifestations. Okay, but as deficiency progresses, it may result in dryness. There can be dryness, there can be scaling, or even there can be pigmentation, which is generally brown color. Okay, pigmentation is another manifestation. So initial manifestations are just sensory changes, but later on scaling rahega, dryness rahega, or you can observe pigmentation in pellagra. Regarding dementia, basically the thing which is mentioned in medicine book, in acute cases there can be delirium. So acute deficiency of niacin, that is pellagra, as far as mental changes is concerned, initially it may get manifested as delirium, and as it progresses to chronic condition, it will get manifested as dementia. So even you can mention delirium as well as dementia. Now what happens in these conditions? So patient may have loss of concentration, there can be poor memory, okay, and other manifestations we can get. So as far as pellagra is concerned, don't forget diarrhea associated with anorexia, nausea or dyspepsia, dermatitis, bilaterally symmetrical lesions, mainly seen on the parts which are exposed to sunlight. And as far as dementia is concerned, here acute manifestation can be delirium and chronic manifestation can be dementia. But K Park has mentioned only dementia, so you can just mention three words: diarrhea, dermatitis, and dementia. One more thing, this is the Castle's necklace. This is Castle's necklace. Basically, this is the manifestation which is related with the dermatitis. Okay, so this rash, when it is seen around the neck, it is described as Castle's necklace. So again, additional thing to know. In this image, you can see Castle's necklace. Okay, you can note the lesions which are seen on the neck, so part which is likely to expose to sunlight, and even you can note the symmetry. How to prevent deficiency of niacin, or how to prevent pellagra? As far as pellagra is concerned, one thing you should know, that pellagra, it is preventable disease. So definitely pellagra can be prevented in communities. So here we are supposed to pay attention to what food which is mainly consumed by the people. So initially we said prevalence of pellagra, it is mainly seen in those people who consume maize. Okay. Another important is jowar. Okay. So basically all those population whose principal food is maize or jowar, we can get prevalence of pellagra. So attention should be paid to this population. Basically, we will try to understand why deficiency occurs when the entire dependence of the food, it is on maize or it is on the jowar. Now these two food articles, they mainly consist of one amino acid in high proportion, and name of this amino acid, it is leucine. This is leucine. Okay, so high content of leucine, it is present in jowar and it is present in maize also. Now what happens, whenever excess leucine is available, it interferes with conversion of tryptophan to niacin. It interferes with conversion of tryptophan to niacin. And another important thing, it increases metabolism of niacin. It promotes excretion of niacin. So at three different levels, you can see how it acts. Okay, so that's why excess leucine content which is present in the maize, which is present in the jowar, it interferes with formation of niacin, as well as it interferes with its utilization, it promotes its excretion, it increases its metabolism. All these things can contribute to the prevalence or occurrence of pellagra. So what we should have to advise the people? It is essential to advise the people to avoid total dependence on maize and jowar. It is essential to educate the people to avoid total dependence on maize and jowar. In addition, pellagra, this is the disease which is related with the poverty. Okay, so social factor which is concerned Am I audible to you? Am I audible to you? Okay, okay. Because for me, meeting has ended, so I don't know whether it will end again or not. Or shall I end the meeting and you will rejoin once again? That will be much better. Just check me participants. Yes, so I will just end and you please rejoin, okay? Gautami Londe, please rename yourself. Please mention your roll number. We are talking about prevention. Most important thing as far as prevention of pellagra is concerned, total dependence on maize and jowar should be avoided. Another important thing we said, one of the most important social factor which is related with pellagra, it is poverty. This is poverty. So improvement in socio-economic condition, it may help to control or prevent the problem of pellagra in the community. So this is about niacin. Now let's start with another vitamin. It's vitamin B6, that is pyridoxine. Again here you can see three names: pyridoxine, pyridoxamine and pyridoxal. Now as far as pyridoxine is concerned, pyridoxine we obtained it from plant food. Pyridoxine we can get it from plant food. As far as pyridoxamine is concerned, pyridoxamine we can get it from animal foods. Okay, so at least pyridoxine and pyridoxamine, two names that we are supposed to know. Regarding functions of pyridoxine, the most important thing, this is PLP. PLP is pyridoxal phosphate. Pyridoxal phosphate, this is basically, it is required for formation or synthesis of non-essential amino acids. In proteins, we will discuss details about essential amino acids and non-essential amino acids. Basically, non-essential amino acids, they can be synthesized in our body. And for synthesis of non-essential amino acids, pyridoxine helps. To be specifically, it is pyridoxal phosphate. And the common sentence that you can mention for majority of vitamin B groups, that is, it plays important role in metabolism of carbohydrates, fats and proteins. Similarly, it is playing a role in protein, fat, carbohydrate. But one of the important function is how it helps in synthesis of non-essential amino acids. One more synthesis where it plays a role, this is required for synthesis of heme. Okay, it is required for synthesis of heme. As far as sources is concerned, already we said from animal foods we can get pyridoxamine, and from plant foods mainly we can get pyridoxine. Animals, example of animal foods, it mainly includes liver, meat, fish, egg yolk as well as milk, which provides us pyridoxamine. As far as pyridoxine is concerned, we can get it from plant foods. Okay, plant foods. From plant foods, these are again whole grain cereals. These are legumes. These are vegetables as well as nuts. Big examples, so many examples that you can write under plant foods. Deficiency of pyridoxine. This deficiency, like deficiency or dry beriberi, just in 2 words you are supposed to mention as peripheral neuritis. The most important deficiency is peripheral neuritis. One most important thing, as far as pyridoxine deficiency is concerned, you should know the treatment aspect that is related with the tuberculosis. I am talking about all those patients who are on anti-tubercular drugs or who are taking treatment for tuberculosis. Basically, tuberculosis already we had finished. Just to refresh, we use different first line drugs and second line drugs that are used for MDR TB. Okay, now as far as one of the most important first line drug which is used in the tuberculosis is concerned, it is isoniazid. It is isoniazid. Okay, can you recall this name? Isoniazid. Those people which are on anti-tubercular drugs, specifically those which are taking isoniazid, they are vulnerable or they are having higher risk of developing deficiency of pyridoxine. Why this happens? What is the reason for this? Okay, what happens? Isoniazid, it inhibits utilization of pyridoxine as well as it promotes excretion of pyridoxine. तो कहाँ पे इफेक्ट होने वाला है? First thing is its utilization and second is its excretion. तो जो है वो यूटिलाइज नहीं होगा और ज़्यादा एक्सक्रीट किया जाएगा. So that's why you should not forget the most common people are those who are on anti-tubercular treatment. Specifically, isoniazid is the drug if they are consuming for long period. Again, if we are supposed to treat peripheral neuritis which is induced by isoniazid, for this pyridoxine will definitely help. Or rather, if you will see the regimen that is used in tuberculosis, already pyridoxine, it is given for prophylactic purpose, so as to prevent peripheral neuritis. Is it clear with isoniazid and occurrence of isoniazid induced peripheral neuritis? Daily requirement of this vitamin, just wait. It's about 2 milligrams per day for adult man and women. Okay, pyridoxine 2 milligram. It is required daily. During pregnancy, 0.5 milligram should be added extra. Okay, so addition of 0.5 milligram during pregnancy is important. Let's proceed further. Pyridoxine, it is less commonly asked vitamin. So we will just proceed further to see another vitamin, that is pantothenic acid. As far as pantothenic acid is concerned, the most important function related with this is required for synthesis of coenzyme A, or rather we can say coenzyme A. It is the active form of pantothenic acid. Now, what is role which is played by this vitamin in our body? The most important thing is it is required for synthesis of cholesterol. It is required for synthesis of cholesterol, and it is required for synthesis of corticosteroids. Okay, it is required for synthesis of corticosteroids. So in this relation, just refresh adrenal gland, adrenal cortex, right? As far as adrenal cortex is concerned, 3 important layers are there: glomerulosa, fasciculata and reticularis. And what hormones are secreted here? From glomerulosa, it is aldosterone. From fasciculata, these are glucocorticoids, that is cortisone mainly. And from reticularis, these are androgens. So whatever steroid hormones are there, they are synthesized with the help of pantothenic acid. So pantothenic acid, it plays important role in synthesis of corticosteroids and cholesterol. So don't forget these 2 important functions related with this. As far as sources of pantothenic acid is concerned, so all foods that contributes to sources. So these includes animal foods as well as plant foods, milk, milk products. So big list is there as far as sources is concerned. Deficiency of pantothenic acid. As far as deficiency of pantothenic acid is concerned, generally spontaneous deficiency is not seen, but experimental deficiency in animals, it has produced adrenocortical insufficiency. Adrenocortical insufficiency, it is seen in animal experimentation. In humans, sometimes this deficiency may get manifested as muscle cramps or paresthesia or burning of feet. Okay, so burning feet, paresthesia or muscle cramps can be the manifestations related with pantothenic acid. And in experimental animal deficiency, it is adrenocortical insufficiency. Another short vitamin, it is biotin. Now, as far as functions of biotin is concerned, biotin plays important role in synthesis of fatty acids. It plays important role in synthesis of fatty acids. In addition, biotin, it is mainly required for carbohydrate metabolism. In carbohydrate metabolism, biotin plays important role in gluconeogenesis. It is gluconeogenesis. And as far as protein metabolism is concerned, here it is concerned with catabolism of leucine. Specifically, it is leucine. So just again to summarize, this vitamin plays important role in carbohydrate and protein metabolism. What different sources are there which can provide biotin to us? We can get biotin from liver, we can get it from egg yolk. This is the yellow bulk of the egg which can provide biotin, which is the one of the most important source. Even these are vegetables like cauliflowers, like legumes, beans. Another important source is nuts. We can get biotin from nuts. Okay. And in addition, it is mushroom. Okay. Mushroom, nuts, beans, liver, egg yolk are the various sources for biotin. Deficiency of biotin, how it is manifested. The deficiency, it may get manifested in relation to some GI manifestations or in relation to some alterations in sensations, or it may get manifested in the form of dermatitis. As far as GI manifestations is concerned, there can be anorexia, there can be nausea, okay, or even in this deficiency, what you can find is rash. There can be rash, and rash mainly it is found around the nose and mouth, or you may find rash on extremities. Okay. Biotin, again it is less frequently asked vitamin. As far as daily requirement of biotin is concerned, it is just in micrograms. For adults, it is 30 microgram. And during lactation, it should be increased to 35. Okay. Pantothenic acid, biotin, less frequently asked vitamins. That's why we finished it fast. Now let's proceed further to another important vitamin. This is folic acid. Okay. Or you can say folate. Folate and folic acid. As far as the name for this vitamin which is recommended is folate. Recommended name is folate. Okay. And what next term you see here, folacin. Folacin, it is alternative name. Folacin is alternative name that is used for folate. And the next term, what you see, folic acid. Folic acid is pharmaceutical preparation. Okay, it is the pharmaceutical preparation. So what we said, folate, it is the recommended name. Folacin, it is the alternative name. And folic acid, it is the pharmaceutical preparation. One of the most important feature of this vitamin is it is heat labile vitamin. It is heat labile vitamin. Okay, we'll see details of this later on. But in intro, the most characteristic feature of this vitamin, what you are supposed to know is this is heat labile vitamin. What are different functions of folic acid? Now, as far as folic acid is concerned, it plays important role in synthesis of nucleic acid, or simply you can say it plays important role in synthesis of DNA. If you want specifications, so basically it's the purines and pyrimidines which are mainly synthesized with the help of folic acid. So DNA synthesis or synthesis of nucleic acid is one function. Second important function of folic acid, it is required for normal development of blood cells in the bone marrow, or we can simplify it as it is required for formation of WBC. It is required for formation of WBC, and it is required for maturation of RBCs, to be specifically from the normoblast to the RBC. Okay, so for maturation of RBC from normoblast to RBCs and for formation of RBCs. Two important functions of folic acid. What are different sources of folic acid? As far as folic acid and its sources is concerned, so here just one terminology is important, that is folia. Meaning of folia is leaf. Okay, so what you can mention as far as sources of folic acid is concerned, the most important sources are leafy vegetables. So whatever different leafy vegetables are there, they are good sources. In addition to that, different fruits like orange, banana, these are also good sources for folic acid. Cereals. Cereals, it includes rice, wheat, maize. Okay, it further includes oats and barley. So all cereals, they are good source for folic acid. In addition, different nuts. So these are cashew nuts, ground nuts, almonds, which are good source for folic acid. These are about plant sources. Now, in addition to plant sources, even the rich source for folic acid is liver, it is meat, it is eggs, as well as milk and dairy products. Okay, so don't forget folia meaning leaf. So all leafy vegetables you can include, cereals, nuts, different types of fruits, and in addition animal sources. Now here it is important to understand that in food, folic acid, it is present in two forms. It is present in free form or it is present in bound form. So accordingly, these are called as free folates or free folic acid, or bound folates or bound folic acid. Okay, so as far as absorption is concerned, free folates are rapidly absorbed. So if folic acid, it is present in free form in our food, it is rapidly absorbed. Now regarding thiamine loss, we have discussed, right, which is concerned mainly with the processing and cooking of the rice. So here the most important thing as far as loss of folic acid is concerned, how this vitamin is lost, there are various cooking processes which can interfere with loss of this vitamin, and the important thing is steaming. Okay, it's steaming. Now whenever the steaming, it is not done in proper way. Okay, if large amount of water is added while steaming the leafy vegetables, if the pans are not covered, okay, it can cause loss of folic acid, and nearly it can cause loss of about 90% folic acid. So maximum amount may get lost. Okay, so appropriate steaming is very essential if we want to avoid this loss of folic acid. Another important thing where loss of this vitamin can occur, it is frying. Specifically, it is deep frying. Okay, another deep frying process where it can cause about 67 to 95% of folic acid. forget about the numbers. Just you should be aware about the different methods where folic acid can get lost, and it can be either frying or it can be. Yes, Sayyid Mushir, why are you talking? What is problem with you? Please mute yourself. Please mute yourself. Yeah. So it's frying, steaming, and one more thing which is concerned here is boiling. Okay. So that's why initially we said this vitamin, it is heat labile. So whenever it will get exposed to excess heat, definitely there will occur loss of this vitamin. Now remaining part I think we will continue in next lecture. It is just whether you are having Patil ma'am's lecture right now. Yes. Is there any post on WhatsApp for the next lecture? Am I? Huh? Mm, okay. 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 So shall I finish with this or shall we continue in next lecture? I think I should finish since Ganesh festival is there. Better you enjoy this festival. We will start with attendance, okay, and remaining part will continue in next lecture. So it's my kind request to CR. Please start with attendance. Raise your hands, please. Raise your hand. Raise your hands, please. Katie, please raise your hand. Okay, okay.